know, life is a great mystery, but so is death. And a greater mystery than either of these is this reality that we call God. There is also many mysterious things about life, and one of the most mysterious is this reality called suffering. We suffer in life. And the great question that has vexed philosophers and religious leaders, as well as wise men and sages throughout the ages, is why is there so much suffering? This seems like an unanswerable question. Why? It causes many to refuse to believe. It is the creed of the atheist that God does not exist because there is suffering. But this question has not gone unanswered. This question has been answered by God in human history, and the answer to that question is the cross. The cross, which is a scandal to the Jews and utter foolishness to the Greeks. The cross. The mystery of the death of Christ. The mystery of suffering. How is that an answer to the question that is before us today? I think that many of us are vexed by this question because suffering is a very personal matter. We all suffer to some degree, and we also will ultimately suffer greatly and experience that great mystery of death itself. And it terrifies us. What happened on this day that we call good, in which Jesus died such an excruciating and violent death as the death on the cross? This is a day of judgment. We often think of judgment as being the day that comes at the end of time. But the real judgment day was 2,000 years ago when Jesus was led to the mount called the Skull, Golgotha in Aramaic, and there was crucified. It is a drama, a narrative that we have just heard that is unfolded here. And it is a day of judgment, because in these events and in this story of Jesus, the preeminent human being, we find that the reality and the truth of ourselves is finally exposed. This story tells us the truth about ourselves. It reveals to us the truth about the human condition, about human civilization, and all the great institutions we have created. It is a judgment upon religious institutions. It is a judgment upon civil institutions. It is a judgment upon human civilization in general. And what we find is that we are weighed in the scales of judgment in this story, and we are found wanting. For in this story, we see ourselves. In the characters of this story that are paraded before us across the stage of this great drama, we see characters that could easily be you or me. We see ourselves in Caiaphas, the religious leader, who did everything to desperately hold on to his power and his privilege and his position as the high priest of the religion of the people of Israel. There is Pontius Pilate, the careerist in government work, a man who climbed the ladder in the imperial Roman system, a man who in his very person represented to the Jewish people the imperial power of Rome, the greatest political system of its time. Pilate also fails, because all our governments and all our civil systems that we erect in which to govern ourselves finally succumb to injustice. And what about Peter, who denied Jesus, who said he wouldn't deny him, and yet 3 times denied he ever knew him? I see myself in Peter. When times get hard, when I'm threatened, I prefer to do the easy thing. and deny my Lord in his hour of greatest need. Then there's Judas Iscariot. Oh, poor Judas. Judas, who would betray his master, who would betray the Lord of life for a few coins of silver, for money. How easy it is for us to simply sell out for that which seems to bring immediate gratification, and yet we lose the gift of life itself and ourselves in the process. Yes, my brothers and sisters, this story marks a day of judgment in which the truth about ourselves is exposed. But it is also a day of judgment because it reveals the truth about God. We learn something about God and the mystery of suffering in this story. We learn that our God is a God who suffers. God suffers with us through his Son, Jesus. In Jesus, God embraces the cross of human suffering. But it doesn't end there. Because as divinity shares the suffering of humanity, as Jesus shares in our suffering, he embraces suffering and he transforms it. Here we have a greater mystery still, that Christ in his death upon the cross transforms human suffering into the very power that will redeem us and transform us and lead us into life. If we would dare to suffer with Christ in this life, we will also share in his victory over death. But that is another part of the story that comes next week. And so today, we conclude this narrative at the moment that Jesus is hanging upon the cross, the moment of his death. And our prayer ought to be like that thief on the cross who suffered and died with Jesus. The thief who uttered these words, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Let that always be the prayer of our hearts. Let us now stand and pray together.